And this is a joint venture between the World Intellectual Forum and Trans Brahma, which is an Indian project established by Dr. Siddhartha and colleagues. He'll be talking about that in a minute. But his ideas and ours are so similar that we thought we ought to do a joint event. He wants to get a World Intellectual Forum type thing going in India for science and spirituality. We're doing the same, so let's cooperate. And the whole idea of the World Intellectual Forum is to bring, you know, intellectuals together from all over the planet with an open agenda to think through the world's problems. It's not like we have the answer, you know, it's we have some of the questions. And greetings, Dr. Fry, you've joined us from Australia. Welcome.
Yes, my apologies for being a little late, but thank you, Daffern.
Okay, so welcome. I'm doing the sort of first slot, the introductory thing, and I hope that people can see me on screen. Is there, now, how do I get the screen sharing thing going? Can you all see me on the screen at the moment?
Yes.
I think it should be that whoever's talking gets to be seen. That's the plan. Right, so as I was saying, now I've got a few remarks I want to make to kick off. We're talking about sort of global spirituality and ethics and philosophy. Global thinking for peace and sustainability is our title. What role can faith, spirituality, and philosophy play in this process? Now that's a huge topic. I mean, you know, each of us could probably give a 2-hour lecture on that, but we're being very good and restricting ourselves to 15 minutes each. So I want to just share a few thoughts. Colleagues are probably familiar with aspects of my work, so this won't be too new, but I hope there are some things I'll be saying that will be new. If you could mute your microphones when you're not speaking, that would help, because I think the sound quality gets better if that's done. Okay, so the first thing I want to say is that religion, spirituality, philosophy, and Dharma, they're all different linguistic attempts to describe a sort of field of knowledge, a field of studies, which is both academic but also practical. It's an existential thing that all of us on the planet are involved with. We all ask questions like, what's the meaning of life? What's the purpose? Is there a God? You know, what's my mind? All these kind of questions. And some of us go on to study it professionally and you know, like, don't give up. But I think one of the things we need to do is a linguistic analysis of all these terms, and I've done that in a dictionary of philosophical terminology. The word Dharma has slightly different meanings than the word religion, and I know our next speaker might be talking about this, as might Dr. Gulab later. I say, let's study them all. You know, let's be eclectic. I'm an eclectic philosopher. But what I do think is important, let's home in on two things. Firstly, the metaphysics behind reality. Let's sharpen our brains and do some serious metaphysics, which takes on board the findings of science, doesn't go against science, but asks deeper questions. You know, I'm a, God knows what, a spiritual materialist. I believe in the findings of material science, but I just don't think they've gone far enough. And so the school of what used to be called dialectical materialism and great thinkers like Vernadsky from Russia, they were asking really profound questions which still haven't been answered. And so I think we should revive some deep questions about science and spirituality. But the fundamental thing I'm interested in is ethics. And I think ethics, the difference between good and evil, right and wrong, choice, as a planet, we're at a turning point. We've got to a point of total lockdown because we've let the scientific community do what it wants. We've let them invent weapons of mass destruction, biowarfare, abilities, God knows what they're up to. It's time we, the people of the planet, the intellectuals of the planet, say enough is enough, you scientists. Come in from the cold and do some ethics. Come and do some basic philosophy. Thou shalt not kill. And that means thou shalt not devise weapons of mass destruction. You know, the World Intellectual Forum has pledged to seeing all nuclear weapons removed from the planet and all weapons of mass destruction, biological and chemical. And I'd like to see the military scale down to about 10% of what it is at the moment. These are ethical issues. And I can announce that today, or possibly tomorrow now, I'm publishing a book called The Ethical Calculus, which is a scientific attempt to make a tool to make very complicated ethical choices, which can be used personally by people in their own personal lives, or it can be used by groups or presidents or academics. Anyway, I'm giving that to the world. It's a system I invented based on my study of ethics over many years, and I spent a few months putting it together. Secondly, I want to put on the table, I did mention this in the preamble that I sent to everybody, the idea of a periodic table of religion and philosophical traditions. I've been inspired by Mendeleev, who did this for the chemical elements. Well, why shouldn't we have one for religions and philosophies? They are very complex. To study all the nuances of the different types of Buddhism or the different types of Islam or Hinduism or Christianity, you know, this is a really complex field. And as you know, I've specialized in it. I taught it in schools at high level for 10 years. And I devised this periodic table, which some of you may have seen. It looks exactly like the chemical table of the elements. And it's a tool that we can use to map and understand all these different religious and philosophical traditions. The third thing I want to say is, okay, so you might say, like some bright, you know, science student of mine would say, well, this is all very well, sir, but I don't believe in God, so it's all nonsense. I don't believe in philosophy. Why should I bother with it? You know, I want to be a scientist and study real stuff, maths, engineering, technology. So I've thought about this long and hard, and I've been to the manor where Sir Isaac Newton invented the theories of gravity, and he put it in his book called Principia Mathematica. I communed with his spirit and I asked him, well, come on, Newton, the world's running amok with mathematics. They've taken over. So I've come up with the sequel to Newton's book, Principia Mathematica. This is not a small project. I call it the Philosophiae Religionis Principia Mathematica. So this is an homage to Newton, who wrote the Mathematical Principles of Natural Philosophy. That's the title in Latin. So I've written the mathematical principles of religious philosophies. This is, and what I'm trying to say is there's an overlap between religious studies as a field and philosophical studies and mathematics. And I regard it as two Venn diagrams. When they meet in the middle, the area between is called religious mathematics. And this includes all kinds of questions like, how many souls do we have? How many lifetimes do we have? How many minds do we have? How many gods are there? How many worlds are there? What are numbers? Are numbers divine? You know, as many philosophers used to say, like Iamblichus and Plato and all that. So it's a really interesting field. I've gone into it in great detail. And I've just published it yesterday on the anniversary of St. Michael's Day, which I think is symbolic because I love St. Michael, great patron saint of all practicing, you know, wisdom workers. So that's my offering to you all, humbly. It's the first volume. It's a massive work. I won't be able to finish it. I mean, it's just starting a new field, right? Religious mathematics. And then the final thing I want to say is that how can this help with peace? Because don't forget, that's what we're doing here, the World Intellectual Forum. We're peace thinkers, and I run an institute for philosophy of peace. Well, I think that the problems of the world are because there's this schizophrenic divorce going on among some of the greatest minds on the planet. There's the religious thinkers who are all off praying, doing their, you know, beseeching God in many different names. Some of the greatest minds on the planet. And then there are scientific minds who think mathematically, who accept no idea of God, like Laplace. I don't have a need of this hypothesis, he told Napoleon. And there are millions of people like that. And these two tribes never talk to each other, hardly. We're one of the few places where scientists and theologians and mystics can actually talk together intelligently. And I wish there were more. Normally, they don't talk to each other. And it seems to me the mathematicians and scientists have taken too much power. They've stolen academia. They've stolen the media, you know. And the conventional idea is religions are all crazy. they're all lunatics and they all should be locked up. Well, I don't accept that, no. I'm with Descartes. You know, in spite of all the cleverness of mathematics, we still need ethics and we still need some kind of spirituality to guide us into the harbor of peace. Okay, so that's my opening remarks, and I'm gonna stop there, and I hope that you know, we won't do questions at the because there won't be time, but we'll save. There's a bit of time right at the end, and if any of our speakers don't come, then we can do questions then. But so look, I'm going to move on now and invite our next speaker, who is Professor Siddhartha from Trans Brahma, and who's joining us from India. So Dr. Siddhartha, over to you, and do welcome people on behalf of Trans Brahma as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Professor Daffern. Thank you so much. It's a privilege to be with you. It's a privilege to be with Professor Swaminadhan. It's a privilege to be with Dr. Katyayani Singh, Professor Alexander Chumakov, and of course, Glen Martin and Gevork as well. And all of the dignitaries, my greetings to all of you. Now, I'm going to begin with a Sanskrit shlok. The Sanskrit shlok goes on to read like, Vichara param jnanam shamohi param sukham. Now, translated into English, it basically means curiosity is the greatest knowledge and peace is the greatest luxury. Now, peace is best translated into independence. It is best translated into sustainability of living, sustainability of identity, sustainability of your changing thinking that strives for creativity, but always without compromising on the future generation to lose it. Sustainability is the capacity to endure and maintain that situation. It is a development that meets the needs of the present without compromising on the ability of the future generations to meet their own needs. Now, nothing gives greater independence and peace than these two philosophies. Therefore, peace and sustainability coexist. They go side by side. Peace and sustainability model is akin to Ram Rajya model, the one model that was responded by Lord Ram at one point of a time, and the model of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that is the whole of the world is a family. India was a sustainable and a peaceful nation, a state and a peaceful nation state till Islamic invasion. The kings of India, can you imagine it? They used to be poets, they used to be artists, they used to be mathematicians during this time. Now, this model of a spiritual cosmopolis, as I call it, existed till the 10th century, and India used to be having a global presence in this case. We, the world community, do require to bring the entire cosmos under such a spiritual awakening for a sustainable and a peaceful world. So what exactly is a global thinking for peace can go on to do? A global thinking for peace is the most important bulwark as it can go to foster a lot of things. For example, it can go to foster creativity, it can go to foster independence, it can go to foster prosperity, independence, progress, which is not the equivalence of change or the hackneyed notions of growth that we go to talk about right now. Now, peace does not only refer to the lack of conflict, but at the same time refers to the security in social relations or economic welfare, as well as equality of justice in political relations of a state. And mind you, justice is not always in law. Justice is all about how we treat each other. Justice and sustainability are the two harbingers of peace. Sustainability is the ultimate state of development. A world that is secure from degradation, it's secure from disease, it's free from insecurities of leading the life, secure from resource crunch, it's exhaustion of the resources, and prevention of the inevitable movement towards entropy is the word that is sustainable. Sustainability is essentially a continuity, not an effort towards bridging metastable equilibrium and reaching a new threshold defined by cutting-edge technology and a grandeur management method as well. In a perceptual environment, there is no better synonymity than to it than that of peace. Sustainability is essentially a reflection of its society, its ethos, the ethos of its thinking, faith, spirituality, and philosophy, of course. And it's in our thinking that determines sustainability or peace. Faith never allows us, coming on to the role of faith, faith never allows us to feel bitter, to feel trouble, and fills the mankind, and also it doesn't go to fill the mankind with hatred and revenge. Faith never makes you manipulative as well. Faith bends you towards simplicity and instills optimism and security. It is fear that breeds insecurity, and insecurity that goes into breed doubt. Faith prevents insecurity and paves way for both peace and independence. Faith contributes by empowering the weak and by influencing the moral, political climate as well. What has happened of late is a competition towards materialism that has disturbed the empowerment, and material outlook has disturbed the peace in comparison to a non-material outlook that goes on to foster it. Rule of sustainability happens to be different. Sustainability encompasses three dimensions. That is, it is the capacity to endure and maintain a system over time so that it maintains negentropy, that is minimum amount of a disturbance, and it refers to the interdependence of economic, ecological, and social order. Sustainability is aided by and governed by, helped by, and guided by spirituality. And spirituality is never to be confused with religion. It is never to be confused with faith. Sustainability cannot go on to be an exclusive preserve of any individual or any single country and isolated communities, as it transcends all boundaries, all communities, and therefore an earthmanship approach is what exactly is required. I mean, belonging to the whole of the earth. And this is what will be moral, and this is what exactly is ethics that Professor Daffern was talking about, and what will be involved. Sustainability is guided by a spiritual conceptualization that is so different from a religion. We do not require a religious mind and a world, not a mind, not a world, as much as we require a spiritual one. This is because religion is an adaptation, and an adaptation to nature and surroundings may not be peaceful and sustainable, since it may require alteration of its behavioral, ecological, and economic surrounding. In contrast, spirituality is not an adaptation to outer surroundings. Spirituality is what one is to oneself. Then religion can be a set of dogmatic rules for running the society. Spirituality prompts humans to reason about everything and to understand everything and even disorder as well. This favors the understanding of tranquil or turbulent environment. Now, we need an open mind for peace and sustainability. Religion binds it. That is the role of religion. Why spirituality goes on to open the mind? It is only spirituality that is governed by the ability to reason out actions and thinking, and gives inner peace. Spirituality is also constant learning. It says, learn from an error, learn from surroundings. Its constant adaptation is in response to notions of humanity, and that too with reason. Religion doesn't tolerate being questioned. It doesn't allow itself to be questioned at all. Spirituality questions everything, tries to understand everything, sees situations from varied perspectives, and it can be very, very truthful. Spirituality encourages to make inquiry into everything. Spirituality asks not to believe even in your own minds and thoughts. It asks you to doubt the doubter. That is the best expression of it, to find the truth. Spirituality asks a question. Are you proud of Hinduism, or are you proud of Islamism? Not asking, are you proud to be a Hindu, or are you proud to be a Muslim? Spirituality is divine, without any intervention of human rules. There can be 100 types of spirituality by 100 different people. Maybe my spirituality is different from you, but we both can be spiritual. And all of them will be unique, all of them will be extraordinary, all of them will be exceptional. To find true independence, that is the ultimate peace, and it has to be spiritual. Moreover, spirituality never divides. It is the most unifying force mankind has known. There can't going to be a Islamic spirituality, there can't be a Christian spirituality or a Hindu spirituality. Spirituality is a spirituality and its transparency of thinking, a sorting of oneself. And that is where exactly it goes on to talk of. Spirituality focuses on experience, while religion focuses on a beliefs. Spirituality is experiential, and in an experiential economy, it is the best bet towards which we are moving right now. The most peaceful state is being in solitude. This is something that we have known, we understand that part. And spirituality is actually a walk in solitude. It doesn't go to make you alone. If you are spiritual, if the world is spiritual, they will never going to feel alone, and they're never going to require to take a recourse of any of these type of ideologies or any aspects. And that's what we require for a peaceful existence. This is because the spirituality focuses on individuals' progress rather than finding and towards finding the ultimate truth. Being in love is a spirituality. Being attracted to the human being, and it follows a protocol of following a process of being together, culminating in marriage as per religious norms. Being spiritual is letting it to be independent, letting it to be free and without any preconditions. Love doesn't want to be having any preconditions. Getting attracted with a purpose is a precondition in this case. And this is the basic anecdote of peace. Nothing transaction, everything for peace, everything is sustainable. We are not human beings who go through spiritual existence. We are spiritual beings who actually go through a human experience in this case. That goes on to bring us onto the role of philosophy. A global search for peace and sustainability requires many philosophical transitions and changing paradigms. Paradigms of resource use, philosophy, paradigms of economic philosophy, paradigms of political philosophy, paradigms of spiritual philosophy and feminist philosophy as well. It requires to understand and change the notion of family and create an extended family that goes into create a global family. Family is not going to be confined. That's a philosophy that we require to change. It requires the philosophy of resource use and energy transition to high efficiency in production and use, coupled with a greater reliance on renewable energy resources. The other philosophical transition is a requirement of management of resources and its transition to reliance on nature's income without depleting its capital. That will go to bring so much amount of sustainability. The philosophy seeks to devise an economic philosophy that talks of a transition to a broader and equitable sharing of the benefits of development. It also enunciates a political philosophy that seeks a transition to global negotiations and broader participation, greater amount of participation. That is a multi-perspective world, which we go on to be calling in geopolitical world as de-hyphenating of the relationship. And of course, it is also an ethical, spiritual, philosophical transition to attitudes that do not separate humans from nature and from each other. These are the three ways where global peace and sustainability can be ensured. I'm so thankful to Professor Daffern to have given me this opportunity to talk about this topic and present my view. Thank you so much, World Intellectual Forum. Thank you so much, all the dignitaries in this place. Over to Professor Daffern.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Siddhartha. That was a masterful